All right. What's up, fam? Fam. Whatever, Elizabeth. I'll put it around my neck. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this? I'm gonna wear my headphones like this. Comment below if you think this is distracting. I've had somebody say that this is really distracting. Just one person so far. And but she was pretty adamant about it. Comment below, let me know. Gum. On a scale of 1 to... Well, no. Do you agree that you should swallow gum or not? Also comment below. What is your archetype, brother? What is your archetype? What is your archetype? And how can you use this for your brand online? First of all, get offline. Be off of it. Throw your phone off a cliff and go touch some ground, okay? First and foremost. Second of all, brands. Oh my gosh. Disgusting. I kind of want to literally throw myself off a cliff and not deal with that. I'm kidding. We're not doing that. We don't want to do that. But it's exhausting. If you're running a business these days, you feel like you have to have a personal brand and you have to be super on and super cheerful and super like yah the whole time for your content and for your marketing online. Not everybody has to do this, but a lot of us feel like this is how we have to make our money and how we have to show up. It's very individualized, it's very personal, and it's very kind of isolating, which is annoying. And I think that something that the brand conversation is missing. Brand feels like it's become something that has become like almost graphic designed. It's like you just get the right font, you get the right colors, you get the right thing, you get the right this, you get the right that. Brand. And I just got to talk. But what do I talk about? What do I even say? How do I show up? What do you mean I'm just supposed to talk every day from my Instagram? What does that look like? What does that mean? It feels overwhelming, and it feels like we can get lost very easily in that whole conversation. I've been lost in that conversation. I had a brand when I was, I don't know, like I guess nearly a decade ago now. That was a photographer, and I was traveling, and I was doing vlogs. Check out the vlogs below. LOL. And it was like cool. Like I was just this travel vlogger dude who would like go around with other photographers, and we'd make content, right? That was my brand, creator, like the creative energy. But then as I grew in myself, I started to kind of break away from that ideology. Life took me through experiences that broke me away from that ideology. I didn't know if I wanted that whole ideology and like that lifestyle in that world. Like, you know, I got into that when I was young, and then because it was exciting and because that's what everybody else was doing and because it got me friends, you know. But then the older I got, the more I was like, dang, I actually just want to like, read a book and like go like weed the garden. You know what I mean? I want to go like do some landscaping. I don't necessarily desire that. So as you grow in that, and as you grow in your content creator journey, I think it's really important to check in with yourself. Do you like what you're doing? Do you like how you're showing up? And then check in with what archetype you're embodying. And what do I mean by this? I'm still finding this within myself. I do not have this answer clearly, fully fleshed out for myself yet, although I've gone by a Mystic Jack on my Instagram before, and I think that was a really good archetype, a mystic. I'm a mystic, and I definitely feel like I still resonate with that. Mystic and soldier are the two I resonate with the most. I have a very, my dad grew up in the military world, and so I have a very like healthy and good relationship with the military in the sense of like I don't support necessarily what the military is doing. I support our troops, and I support the men and women who have fought our wars and defended our country deeply. But I do not support the government's incentives and intentions behind a lot of the wars that we've fought. That's a whole different conversation. But the archetype that I really resonate with is a soldier, a mystic and a soldier. So it's been something I've been learning how to I've been thinking about how do I integrate that archetype into my brand? Because when I think about a brand, I think about brand as a tool. That is a tool. It is a simple language that somebody can come and quickly understand, so they can understand who I am and what I'm offering them, so they can buy whatever I've got to sell, right? That's what the brand is there for. It's something to be easily translatable, so that there can be a transaction can be made if that transaction is applicable to the relationship. An archetype is something you get to really explore and use as a self-exploration within yourself. So, for example, the mystic soldier example that I'm giving is something that I'm still discovering within myself, but I can use as a framework around how I show up on my social media. The soldier archetype has actually been really helpful in how I've decided to show up on YouTube in this talking format where I just sit here and talk. I'd love to hear it. I'm in the middle of a neighborhood. There's a forest in the middle of this neighborhood, so there's all these houses around me. And there's a kid out and about. I think he's laughing. Now I think he might be crying. We're sending love to him. I'm sure he's being taken care of by his parents. Bless them all. So the soldier archetype has been really helping me figure out how to show back up on my own YouTube channel, which is very much just like stand, root yourself down. Because I was even thinking today, like, maybe I should sit for this next video. And then I was like, no, that's actually not what this is. I actually have to be standing for what I'm doing here, because I'm almost, what would I say? I'm trying to think about the action. And this is what I mean. The archetype I'm still discovering as to why I resonate with that metaphor and with that archetype in my body, so that I can show up in that way. And what do I mean by archetype? Like, why is that important to lock into? Archetypes are a biological brand. What does that mean? Just like AI is a system that's getting embedded into the online infrastructure of what's going on, biology is a system as well. The biological world is a really, really, really complex system. And it doesn't just mean it's the grass underneath us or the plants underneath us or the plants around us. The biological system has so much to do with all sorts of storytelling and natural design and mystic languaging. The human experience is part of the biological world that's around, and there is so much complexity in the human experience. We've got some sort of connection to God, and we're trying to understand that, and we're trying to interact with that. So the archetype is a container for you to be able to articulate a story through a general subject so that more people can understand. Let me say it another way. It's a parable. A parable is a story that's told that doesn't point to the meaning of the story. It allows you to discover the meaning of the story. The archetype gives us the option and gives us the availability to discover what's going on within us as we grow in whatever archetype we've decided to be involved in. Okay, let me give another example. The mystic, or let me give a simpler example. The farmer. The farmer as an archetype. The countryman. Right? What do you hear when I say the countryman? The countryman is a simple man, not in the simple in stupidity, but a simple in action. He's very simple. He wakes up at sunrise. He goes out and he waters and feeds his animals. He goes, takes care of the plants. He goes, waters the plants. And then he generates a list of things that he needs to accomplish that day to maintain the health and longevity of whatever he's growing, whatever he's building, whatever he's taking care of, so that it can support them for food, right? General archetype vibe, you got that when I said countryman, right? So when you are interacting with your online presence, with your relationship to how you want to be showing up online, with your relationship to how you want to be showing up within yourself, that's the starting point. You want to be developing a relationship with how you want to show up within yourself and what's guiding you. Then you flip that guide on its head. So if I'm centered in being a mystic and being a soldier in the sense of like how I want to show up energetically in my life, because that's what that means. Your archetype is how you want to show up energetically in your life. Maybe you want to be an athlete, right? A warrior of some king King, warrior, magician, lover. Very broad archetypes, but those are archetypes. Maybe you want to be a lover, or you are a lover in your life. Maybe you want to be a magician. You want to learn magic in some sort of way. And I don't mean magic like with a wand necessarily, but I mean magic in the sense of how you create opportunities in life and transmute negative energy in your life, right? Magician. We all have archetypes within us, whether you know it or not. We are all operating out of archetype. And so what I'm saying is, how do you find a generally specific archetype to what energy you want to embody, and then you show up with that archetype in how you're showing up online? And the cool thing about this is the fact that then you have a less, this is, oh my goodness, you have a less, you have less responsibility to show up in your own talking every time for yourself. What do I mean by that? How do I say it? Sorry, my brain's kind of out there with this. It's kind of pushing this with this idea. This is the first time I really dug this deeply into this thought. The other archetype I am is an explorer, right? This is a very exploratory archetype for me. This is probably the root of this archetype, actually. I just downloaded that. Like, I'm very much an explorer of ideas. And so, oh, here you go. Okay, yeah. So with the fact that my energy field is very much an explorer, without then extra work, I can go on to social media and Instagram, if I desire to, and create or repost explorer concepts or explorer ideas. So I don't know if you've been seeing on Instagram, there's a lot of like slideshows with just photos behind it, and then there's text over it, like POV, or when you tap into the right, when you tap back into yourself or whatever, and then it's just images of what you are embodied in, right? That's archetype, and then you can use, it's like a faceless post you can make around your archetype that has that text and that is embodying and exploring that truth. Then you're not having to show up and feeling like you have to show up with your voice every time. You can actually go and find different ways of creating content that is representative of the energy that you embody, but not having to be overworking your actual physical identity in your physical life. You can almost use your brand to tap into something that is more universal, and that helps the content creation strategy move smoother, as well as typically you can get into the algorithm easier and get more viral. So it like is kind of a two birds with one stone. You could use like viral trendy kind of content to express an archetypal energy on your social media, and then you'll grow quicker. You'll just use a trendy theme and it'll grow quicker. So again, my brain is stretching and trying to figure out how to kind of blend this brand archetype relationship, both in this conversation and in my life right now. And this is kind of the explorer archetype in me, exploring this idea, chopping it up and letting it out. Please comment below if you're hearing me. Let me know. Like, I'd love to hear if you can like hear what I'm trying to say, or and are understanding what I'm trying to say. And let me know like how you're interpreting it, because everybody's got their own interpretations. But for me, I'm interpreting it as like this way of like, again, how I'm always approaching social media is like, how little work do I have to do? But I also want to be fully aligned with who I am and how I want to show up in the world. So it's like, instead of having to post something about me, I could post this explorer clip, or post this caption that has something to do with exploring, and then that's referencing me. You know what I mean? This does get a little messy in the sense of niches when you're actually thinking about the practicality of social media and how to grow. It doesn't have to get messy. But again, how do you interpret this, and how are you integrating it into an aesthetic and your quote unquote brand, and how you create? How do you create, and how are you integrating it in it, how you create? But I think that there's something to be said about, instead of being centered in the brand, this is the main point. Instead of being centered in the brand, what archetype are you centered into within yourself? What energy field are you embodied in within yourself? How are you energetically showing up within yourself in every moment of your life, not just when you're creating content, but also when you're going to dinner with your family, and when you're taking care of your loved ones, or when you're, interacting with somebody you don't know at the grocery store. How are you showing up in the world, and what archetype are you embodied in when you show up in that space? And then the cool thing about that too is when you're thinking about that and you're incorporating that into how you're creating, it's like you're bringing your spirit into the online space and the online presence and how people relate to what you say and how you show up. So yeah, I think that feels good for now. I think that there's definitely a lot more to unpack in that concept, and a lot more I'm unpacking still. But I think that there's something there, and there's something in that space, in the sense of how I'm learning how to help other people find more of themselves in their brands, quote unquote, and how I'm finding more of myself in my brand, and how I'm really refining myself in my brand, and in my archetype. So yeah, let me know what you think about this conversation. Love y'all. Stay safe. We'll chat soon.